I'm sorry, John. The only option that we have left is to appeal to the Supreme Court. That would cost tens of thousands in legal fees just to prepare. And unfortunately, I highly doubt that the court would take the case. Based on past cases like this, I'd say that our chance is less than 5%.
Tens of thousands just for them to say no? You've got to be kidding me. We have already spent hundreds of thousands in legal fees on this case.
I know. Believe me, I wish I had better options for you. But I strongly recommend that you consider paying the most recent settlement demand.
Pay the settlement. They are demanding millions of dollars just to go away. This will cripple the company. We're talking plant closures. We're talking layoffs.
It's a bitter pill. But if we appeal to the Supreme Court and they don't take the case, we'll be stuck paying the judgment entered at the trial. And at that point, there won't be any chance of settlement. That's an even worse outcome. More expensive, more detrimental to the company as a whole.
I am going to lose everything.
Again, I'm sorry, John.
I don't understand how we got here. All of this over a conversation and a text message?
Which is why we're here today. Following basic antitrust compliance guidance significantly decreases the likelihood that your company will suffer. Okay, allow me to tell you something that you already know. Guys, this cannot happen again. Criminal penalties, huge judgment and civil lawsuits, these are the sort of things that taint companies. So I've got a presentation that's going to inform our mission today, but I want this to be a discourse. Okay, I want to discuss what happened, what could have been done differently, and I want us to collaborate on a plan to avoid antitrust violations moving forward. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's do this.
Great. Beginning at the top, what is antitrust? Antitrust refers to a broad field of state and federal laws that have two primary purposes. The first, benefiting consumers by promoting competition. The second, preventing collusion between competitors. Now, not to go all second grade on you, but why is collusion bad?
It's in violation of corporate ethics.
It is, but why?
It hurts competition. If two companies secretly manipulate pricing, competition goes out the window, and the health of this economy is predicated on competition.
Precisely. So it hurts business and wounds the economy. With that in mind, we've created a teaching tool called the Antitrust Stoplight. This tool allows companies to judge what is and what is not permissible under antitrust guidelines. So let's begin by going over what's absolutely not permissible. Not surprisingly, represented by the red light. So talking to competitors about pricing, margin, market share, or production levels are all prohibited. If you see any of these conversations taking place, halt them immediately and contact your company's lawyers as soon as you can. Don't even innocently joke with your competitors about any of this. Okay? It's entirely off limits. And that's the red light. Anything with a hard no.
I don't mean any offense, but all this is really obvious stuff.
Okay, Chris, I see you tacitly agreeing with Ron here. Mm-hmm. Leslie, how about you?
It does seem like common sense.
And I agree with all of you 100%. Unfortunately, somebody within your organization didn't. And that's led us to where we are today. Now, that's a fair assessment, right?
John? Well, he screwed up. He certainly knew better, but it isn't like we have an army of colluders here.
Okay, I don't know John, so I'm looking at you on this. Did he seem like a particularly devious person?
He wouldn't have been on the payroll if he did.
What was he like then?
Just a normal guy, but we didn't know he'd violated professional ethics.
Okay, and how many other normal guys and gals work here? Right, so I've gotten the gist of what happened with John, but I want you to tell me in detail. Okay, humor me, let's analyze it. Ron, tell me what happened.
Well, he was in Boston at a meeting and he got a little too chummy with one of Benson's guys.
Work with me here, elaborate.
All right, it was day 2 after the program. John was sitting down with one of Benson's guys, like I said, having a drink. I think it all started off pretty innocently, but then things took a turn.
Those were some long meetings this morning. If I have to listen to someone drone on about the LCA criteria again, I swear. But I guess it's good to have everyone in the same room rather than on a call. Have you been on the strategic group calls lately?
Oh, sure. It's good to see everyone on board with what's needed in the industry.
Absolutely. It's been great for the mood around our office, and those quarterly numbers are a sight for sore eyes.
You know, one thing I thought that we should talk to the whole group about is starting some kind of marketing initiative related to sustainability and our products, like OCC, recycling, the whole 9 yards. We could bring some good, positive feedback to our whole industry if we work together on this.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I don't think we do enough of that. Let's bring it up on the next call.
All right. Well, I really should be getting back to the
Hey,
office.
one more thing I just remembered. We've been getting to talking about ending the third shift at a bunch of our plants in the next few weeks. It's just not in everyone's best interest to keep it going right now, I was wondering if you guys would do the same at some of your plants.
I'm just not so sure that that's the best idea.
Listen, we're all in this together. And we have a unique opportunity. Let's not squander it.
Are you sure this will work out?
Absolutely. It's what's best for everyone. You, me, everyone.
If you feel like you know what you're talking about.
Glad we had a chance to talk.
Yeah, sure.
That's my understanding of the events. He made a bad decision, and it cost him his job. I'm not saying it shouldn't have, but we've got that all settled now.
Okay. What was John's first mistake?
Well, colluding on removing a shift seems to fit the bill.
That's where things ended up, but where'd they all start?
John should have gotten out of there the minute Benson's guy started talking about cutting the shift.
Even before that, think about it. Just the two of them, decision makers at competing companies, at a social event following a trade association meeting. Okay, they should have been aware that this was a sensitive context.
Are you saying that John should have refrained from meeting altogether? Part of these association meetings is socializing and playing nice with competitors.
That's all good and well, but you have to understand that when meeting privately like they did, you're putting yourself in a potentially risky situation to begin with. It opens doors to veering out of bounds. Let's transition to our next slide. When you find yourself in situations such as John's, some conduct is permissible, but you have to be cognizant of antitrust guidelines. Okay, so for an example, setting industry standards, participating in a data sharing program, or jointly lobbying a government body. Okay, these are all legitimate and pro-competitive trade association activities. Now, John was free to undertake any of these discussions, but you have to be cautious.
Hence the yellow light.
Precisely. Now, John did something else that I want to acknowledge as dangerous behavior. Any ideas?
I'm guessing text message.
Right, yeah. What John did was absolutely in violation of antitrust guidelines. There is no way around the inappropriateness of it. But even when you're not in the wrong, you have to be careful about how you say what you say when it comes to electronic communication. All right, it's all subject to discovery if litigation arises.
Rule of thumb, if you have to write delete after reading, just don't put it out there. Just saying.
Fair enough. Long story short, use a good judgment in what you say and how you say it.
Well, that's exactly what happened to John.
What's that?
Well, that text came up when he was on the stand, and it wasn't pretty.
Mr. Valentino, you're telling the jury today that you never spoke with Mr. Williams about both of your companies working together to increase prices?
That's right.
Now, you did see Mr. Williams at trade association events from time to time, is that correct?
I did occasionally.
In fact, you saw Mr. Williams at a trade association meeting last spring, isn't that right?
I may have. I don't recall.
And at that event, the two of you met for drinks following the day's association meetings.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness just said he didn't recall.
Counselor?
Your Honor, Mr. Valentino testified just a few hours ago that the meeting occurred in the context of the trade association meetings last spring.
I'll allow it. Overruled. Continue.
You remember meeting Mr. Williams for drinks at the trade association meeting last spring, correct?
Yes. Now that you mention it, yes, I guess I do.
And over those drinks, did you talk to Mr. Williams about the industry strategic group calls you'd participated in?
That's possible.
And Mr. Williams suggested that each of your two companies cut supply in order to enable future price increases, didn't he?
No.
He didn't suggest cutting supply by eliminating a third shift?
No.
Mr. Valentino, what I am handing you has been marked as Exhibit 10. This is a printed copy of a text message sent from a cell phone. Do you recognize the phone number at the top of this page?
Yes.
Whose number is it?
It's mine.
And do you recognize the text as one that you sent? Mr. Valentino, do you acknowledge having sent this text message?
Answer the question, sir.
Yes.
He was caught up in his lies. It was an embarrassment, not only to him, but to the entire company.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't have to be like that. With that in mind, let's talk about what is acceptable. So the majority of what trade associations do is not only permissible, but it's beneficial to competitions. Activities that address industry issues regarding safety, environmental impact, or expanding product offerings, for instance, are all allowed as long as antitrust guidelines are being observed.
Well, just to be clear, that is how the majority of us behave here.
Okay, that's excellent. Now, can you think of any examples of how potential violations of antitrust guidelines were avoided?
It's your story. You should tell it.
Leslie, you navigated a risky situation?
I definitely did.
I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, well, last year I was conducting a plant tour with a salesperson from one of our competitors. It had been a really nice tour, actually. He was extremely polite and seemed sincerely thankful for the invitation.
Hey, it was really enlightening to see how you all operate this plant. And I cannot believe that corrugator can handle 700 FPM so smoothly. It's like you barely have to slow down at the dry end for your order changes.
Thank you. There's been a few times I almost wish we moved a little slower. Thanks for coming by today.
Yeah, listen, while I'm here, can I bend your ear on something?
Sure. What's that?
I need to know I can trust you on this, Leslie. I mean, we go back a long way. It's a little sensitive, but I know I can count on you. Yeah.
Okay.
We were thinking of raising our prices 2.5% next week, Friday. But I wanted to make sure that you all were with us if we do. I mean, you know what it means for our bottom lines, and it only works if we're in it together.
You know we can't do that. That's against professional guidelines.
I just figured it would be good for both of us. You know, I mean, if companies do better, we do better.
That's totally unethical. I can't believe you're asking me to do this.
Let's just forget this last part of the conversation.
I need you to leave.
You're gonna keep this hush-hush, right, Leslie?
You need to go. Now.
Oh, that's awesome. You 100% did the right thing here.
Thank you, David.
No, I mean it. You did a great job. I want to take a moment to acknowledge why that is. First and foremost, you were already in a potentially risky situation, being that it was just the two of you, right? Without any witnesses. Now, that's permissible, of course, but you have to be diligent with your antitrust guidelines here, and you were. You did professional courtesy by hosting the plant tour, and your competitor's salesperson took this as an invitation to collude on price fixing. Not your fault, but you handled it beautifully.
And the rapid email to our lawyer was a nice touch.
Not just nice, but critical. Not only did you look for legal guidance immediately, but you created a written record timestamp of what had just occurred. Anytime that you're involved in or witness to conduct that violates the antitrust guidelines, you need to involve your company's legal department or the antitrust counsel right away.
Way to go, Leslie.
Thank you.
You all did a fantastic job.
Well, I would just like to say thank you for taking the time with us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Ron. I hope you've all learned something new about antitrust today and how you can avoid ending up in any other compromising situations.
Yeah, absolutely. We're taking this to the entire team, agreed?
100%.
Yeah, what she said.
Now, feel free to share this with your team. It's great to hear.
This is smart. I admit I was a little resistant at first.
When aren't you?
Hey, take it easy on this old man, huh?
Seriously, I'm proud of you for lowering your defenses on this one.
Are you ready to share with the troops?
Let's do this. You know, while we're on the subject of being receptive to new ideas, what do you think about revisiting those standing desks I was telling you about?
I don't know. First it was inflatable balls as chairs. Now it's standing desks. I can't keep up anymore.